I can judge your spoilers, but I'll ask everybody. Define in one word this film.
Silly. Okay, I got to it first. Good luck.
Cupcake.
There you go.
Well,
Which I guess is both anyway.
Silly and enjoyable.
Yeah.
good answer. My first question is, what can we learn from the characters?
For Liz, I would say follow your heart and put, no matter what, family comes first. Liz fights for her house and fights for her sisters, along with following various parts of her heart, I would say, throughout the movie. But whatever comes her way, she says yes to. And I think that is a really empowering lesson of just saying yes to whatever comes your way and working really hard to fight for your family.
That was a great answer. Yeah, I mean, I would say George, the character George I play, the lesson is kind of similar. Definitely I would say, if you know that you love someone, to actually hold on to that hope. It definitely, I think, gives a lesson of hope over years in someone you could love. I personally am rather cynical about this as just myself, the actor, but the character George finding his true love in the end with his person he met at a young age does give me hope that can happen.
Honestly, what you can learn from Tommy Leroy is, let's see, probably a couple things. Let's see, you can learn from Tommy how to scam somebody, how to, you learn more from Tommy what not to do as a human being as you go through the world, how to be a dishonest, sadistic con man at the end of the day. But I like to think that somewhere deep down there is just a wound that needs to be healed somewhere, somehow that could maybe set him right. But yeah, I think you learn more from Tommy what not to do in the world than the lessons of love and commitment that you get from Sam and from the other two.
It always helps to be skilled at being a handyman. I feel like if you're good at fixing,
that's the thing. He's not even a good handyman.
Not even good. Yeah. I guess it's good to seem like you are. It's good to wear tools. Let's just put it that way. Man or woman, you wear tools.
That's fair. It is good to know how tools work. I think he knows just enough how tools work to get him into a room where he can get something else out of somebody.
Indeed.
For you guys, how do you define the language of love in this film?
That's a really beautiful question.
Beautiful question.
It's I think the language of the love is definitely one of hope. I mean, I think there's so many different types of expressions of love in this film, and there are a few examples of people who are pretty toxic, but the love between George and Liz, I think, is one of surprise and hope and the unexpected. And the cupcake thing is definitely the visual personification of love, and you could stretch that. You could say that.
Putting work and commitment into something that you want people to enjoy in a certain way, much like the Townhouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I would say for if we're talking traditional love languages, words of affirmation, gifts of service or acts of service, gift giving, quality time. I'm blanking on the fifth one, but I think Liz, there's a real turning point when George is I bought your house and you can live in it rent free. And if we're following like the traditional Elizabeth Bennet story too, like she goes to his house and sees something and automatically like falls in love with him too. So it's very much like an acts of service in that moment for Liz. And I also think words of affirmation for her because she doesn't get that from Tommy. Like Tommy does not affirm their connection. And we see it like for a hot second in the wedding where he's like, oh, I still have feelings for you. And she's like,
Yeah.
right. Like we see it for a hot second of like, if Tommy were to say he loved her, would she have gone in a different way? I don't know. But words of affirmation in that moment of George like reaffirming her after an act of service, I think really speaks to the two characters and like how quickly that transition happens for these two.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like George kind of goes through with acts of service for everybody that he cares about throughout the entire film. If you think about the whole timeline of events from saving your life in the very beginning, right? From saving Liz's life in like when they were children, even just George going to the apartment for his friend to check on the electrical situation and like all the punch list of stuff.
Yeah.
That's technically, you would think of that as an act of service for someone.
Yeah.
Buying the house, like you said, all that. I mean, in the traditional love languages, I think Tommy's love language is definitely physical touch. But and probably acts of service too, but that's that goes towards the broken circuit, the sadistic side of him, and that he in the reverse, it's the acts of disservice that show how he manipulates that concept for people. But I mean, there's a lot of that going. It seems like, there's something about acts of service across the board, from deep fakes connection to Townhouse, just because they're a fan, all that kind of thing. Yeah.
My third question is, how do you construct the psychology of your characters? What inspiration did you have?
Well, I personally have, experienced, a bit of, heartbreak in my life. And I felt like when we were shooting the film, it was very easy to, enter the zone of someone who was jaded or hopeless or cynical. And I don't feel like I had to stretch my imagination very far to get there. That seems like it maybe came easier for me than other people have, like a nice person like Jonas having to play a douchebag. But I, put me in a suit, say I'm sad, and I'm just my own self, really. No, it's not that bad. It's fine.
What a world.
No, it's not. What about you guys? Did you do any psychological work?
Oh, sure. Just to justify the behaviors. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about playing a villain ever, is trying to justify their actions, because I like to think that I'm a pretty decent human being. But in the event that, you need to really convincingly show that you're achieving a goal that, as far as like me, the person, thinks is a reprehensible act, it's an interesting way to just bend your psychology in a certain way to, look at a scene and say that I would hate this person if I knew that they did these things to me or anybody that I love. But at the same time, sometimes that's the fun of playing make-believe, is you get to do things that normally you would absolutely never do, and hopefully never would.
Yeah. I think for Liz, a lot of my psychology and background work came from my biological sister. My sister's name is Alyssa, and she is a professional baker in real life. And there is a precision and perfectionist attitude that comes along with that, as well as being a sister herself. Like, she is my younger sister. And family for us, we're Sicilian raised, and like family is everything. I think something that, because of the world of the rom-com, you know, we don't necessarily see Liz's grief, but her parents died and she's dealing with this house that is crumbling around her with sisters who depend on her for a lot. And that's not said. It's more like the love story between the characters, but like that all went into my psychology of like why Liz needs to work so hard at this bakery, why she needs this job, why she can't go to New Jersey. All of that is like failure in her eyes. And going hand in hand with being a baker, there's a lot of precision in that, and like not liking to fail. But yeah, my sister is very much Liz. She also likes, you know, she thinks that there is a Prince Charming out there for her. Sam does not. I'm a strong, independent woman. I take jujitsu. Okay. Like I could kick all of your butts. But my sister, not so much. She very much is like waiting for that man to save her. And it's just like a different mentality than what I have. So it was really cool to take a step into her shoes, and then from her shoes see Liz in a very different light.
Before we continue, I always like to remember the past of all your movie guys. Jonas, what do you remember about his first TV series, My Secret Friend? And lead first job was Blue Sunrise. What do you remember about that short film? And once and what is the short film Amygdala? Do you think I could with a similar theme Townhouse Confidential?
Yeah, I think ours are swapped.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah.
Did you work on Blue Sunrise?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my secret friend was a great experiment in filmmaking. We shot it in like 2011 or 12, where we spent 2 weeks. Let me start again. The title of My Secret Friend referred to each character having a secret illness, and we as characters were given that illness on a sheet of paper and kept it to ourselves, and then improvised with the other characters in like dating scenes and then we basically were in a room of writers who watched us improvise. We worked with a theater director, and then these screenwriters created short scenes that we then filmed with a full production crew. So as wasn't my first film work or TV work, but it certainly was one of the first standout collaborative camera exercises I'd ever been a part of. And it was honestly remains one of the most impressive and fulfilling creative experiences I've had in filmmaking, for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's very cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you. Jonas?
Yeah, Blue Sunrise was a really fun short film to work on. Well, I mean, fun in the sense that I had just graduated college. I just got back to New York for a little while before I ended up moving to LA. But during that summer, I just saw a casting call for a short film that was shooting in New York. They were going to be shooting a lot in Coney Island, which I grew up in New York City and Brooklyn, and I have great memories of going to Coney Island throughout my whole life, but especially as a child. And part of the story of Blue Sunrise was about 2 brothers who go out in their separate ways of life, but they have these very strong memories with their mother at Coney Island at the beach. And it was a tough story. It was ended up with climactic scene of all of us in the hospital with her as she was very ill, which at the time was also fairly poignant for me, as I had lost my grandfather just about a year prior, and it was a similarly heavy experience. Well, yeah, a few years prior, but going through all of that it was probably one of the first times in my life that I actually was able to connect something from my life to the drama that was happening on the page. But other than that, it was just a beautiful experience working in Coney Island and getting to shoot in these landmarks and on the beach. And, you know, since then I've done a couple other things at Coney Island that stands out.
Bigdala was very, very different, actually, which is kind of cool. It was a short film produced through, I forget which university it was, but it was for their master's thesis film. And it took place in an escape room where an individual is trying to escape not only the room itself, but because they had gone through a bit of a life change and life crisis, they were trying to escape their own minds as well. And I played what was a real life girlfriend that this person had, but in the film appears as almost a figment of their imagination, to give insight into how to escape the room, things that they need in order to unlock certain things in their life to go forward, both metaphorically and physically, of like, she tells him where the key is, but also a part of that is because of their failed relationship. So that was really interesting to, like, as an actor, to play a figment of someone's imagination that is grounded in a real person or real relationship that did occur. And that was really fun too, because like we also had some cool staging aspects of it. We rented an escape room for 3 days and like filmed in a real escape room, which, like, man, no sunlight for a couple days really gets
That's wild. Did you get claustrophobic during shooting?
A little. I did a little bit. The lead guy, like, he said that really fueled his character, but he was in like confined, like truly had to break out of this situation. And I was like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah, you're like, where's the union contract on this one?
Right. The actual key. I'm done.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
It was spooky.
My other question is, what can young filmmaker learn from this film? For all, in this history, can the hatred between social classes be eliminated, this film?
Wow.
I don't think we get quite there. I think I think at the end of the movie, the social classes are intact, but we do have interesting surprises in certain social classes. I think that Liz and George spend a little bit of time, being aware of, their own privilege, and seems like Liz's friend Billie Jane has a nice scene illustrating to Liz that she shouldn't take her privilege for granted. I can't say that George spends a lot of time in the movie really like expressing that, but I did get a few moments where we touched on that, at least to answer that part of the question. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would definitely agree that the social classes remain intact. I was going to also mention Billy and how they really clarify the level of privilege that pretty much everyone who doesn't own property has to deal with, as a very, and that's a microcosm of the entire conversation, the social structure conversation that exists, and even stuff that is also touched on in the movie. It's interesting though, because most of the film kind of exists in an upper middle class to upper class world, except for the couple of times where we're forced to pull down to the, I don't know, the populace, the common person who is probably on the lower middle class, especially in New York City. But yeah, as far as the second part of your question, the elimination of the hatred between the classes, it doesn't, I don't think we get there either. I think there's that while there is a reach across maybe from both sides of that equation, as far as understanding what they're dealing with on both sides, the disdain and the resentment, I think, still stands, especially from Tommy.
Do you have anything else? I was going to answer the other part of the question, but Sam, do you want to?
No, go ahead. Lee, answer that first. Ned is freaking out. So.
Okay, yeah, take care of your dog. I was going to just say about the other question about what can young filmmakers learn. So, in 90 minutes, it is hard to do a hey buddy. I think one thing that young filmmakers can learn is that you can make a 90-minute film that can be simpler than a lot of first-time filmmakers, first short or film, where sometimes young filmmakers might think that they have to tackle really difficult subjects or, do something really weird or intense and experimental to grab the attention of an audience. Well, our executive producer and screenwriter, it's her first film.
Right.
So she is a young filmmaker, and she decided with her first film to make a more simple love story. And I think other young filmmakers could maybe learn that, it's okay on your first time out to just do a romantic comedy and to try something that's, easy to watch. Not that people shouldn't try to reach for difficult things or anything, but sometimes if a young filmmaker is working with limited resources, it might be easier to tell a simple story and to try to make things not too complicated.
Yeah, it's just something that people, it's an enjoyable thing. It's like you said, the story is not overly complicated, but it's enjoyable. It's beautiful, I think, especially for young filmmakers. I think the key in anything that you're producing, you want it to look and sound beautiful. And luckily, we had a wonderful score and an amazing cinematographer who were all orchestrated by our director, Patrick, who, he had such an eye, and he used every instrument at his disposal, including us, the actors, to achieve something that's just really enjoyable on the eyes and the ears and the heart.
Now
what does Ned think?
He saw, so there's a 3-legged cat that lives across the street, and it was bark at cat o'clock.
Wow.
But I would say for the first part of the question, I agree with what Lee and Jonas said. I think simple storytelling and getting to the heart of everything will shine through no matter what, hiccups happen along the way from our end. Like, you don't necessarily see that in the final product, but, going through it and like what locations we weren't able to use, what, things happen throughout the filmmaking process that as audience members you don't see. So going to the simple and just truth telling, within the story, I think is really important. And then hatred with the social classes. I struggled a little bit with this myself, honestly. Especially walking. I'm from New York originally, and like walking through the West Village as a kid, I was always like, wow, these people must be rich. Like, that's it. That's all it is. And we hear from Liz a little bit that like her parents die and she inherits this house and has to work to keep up with the mortgage payments and all of that. She doesn't necessarily like want it, but doesn't want to give up that privilege and that illusion and all things like that. The look of having a townhouse in the West Village. So I think we definitely don't get to the elimination of social classes and hatred between them. We just get to see a little glimpse into these people's lives and that they're not all villains, so to speak.
My last question is very important. I admire your work and it's not hypocrisy, which I congratulate you. You won for all. This is personal question to you according to the film. What is the type of the iceberg that you want to achieve in your film dreams? Jonas, Lee, Samantha.
Anyone have one off the top of their head?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to be, my favorite series ever is New Girl. It's my comfort show. It is my everything show. I would like to be a Jess on New Girl, like a cute 20-minute comedy series regular, so that I don't have to work so hard. Okay.
Good answer. Well, I was thinking that, I would love to be a series regular on a show on HBO for sure. Something like that's a little, they just did the premiere of Succession recently. And I think that, like, whether I like it or not, I can play those types of George Barrow-like characters or these Succession characters fairly easily, and wear a suit and be white and privileged, but also show some edge and comedy. And I want to work with really experienced writers. But if I would to really pick the tip of the iceberg, it would be to, like, be able to create a film with, like, some of my close friends and collaborators. I know some very talented writers and directors who are my age or younger, some older, but I would love to have the resources to have, like, multiple friends of mine working on a project, and come up with a feature film that people really enjoy. And I think to be able to be in a position where I could employ my friends at some point, and to have any kind of resources where I can produce a film and also act in it, and, like, hire my favorite director and hire my favorite writer, that would be my dream. Just to give jobs to friends. Will be having my own production company. Pretty much every aspect of artistic production, from music to film to TV to poetry to whatever the hell. I just want to produce and cultivate stuff. That's a great question. Thank you for asking.
Man. We don't.
My pleasure. Please give us all your social networks, invite people to watch to the film, Greatest on Colombia, admire your works for you guys.
J Nasty BKNY, and you'll find that. And I believe on Facebook at Jonas Barranca or at Jonas Amadeus. I'm not sure. One of those. There's a page and then there's the profile. I think the page is at Jonas Amadeus, but yeah. Think so?
You should be. I'm not, but I wish I was. I
think I made one a million years ago. Paulina and I had made one a few months back when I think we were bored when we were quarantined, when we had COVID in May of last year. And we're like, let's make a TikTok. And so that's why one exists for us. But I
only have one too. And it was definitely choreographed by Antonia, our wardrobe assistant at Townhouse Confidential. I'm on Instagram at Lee Tyler C with a SEE at the end. And I got a website out there too. Instagram's the main social media platform that I use.
Yeah, I'm Instagram. It's Sammy SAMISIMS 21. Like I'm a DJ. Like what? Facebook is Sam Simone. This cutie who's been like taking over this entire thing, Ned. He also has Instagram. It's Ned's _thread. He's hilarious and we love him.
Nice.
And my website is SamanthaNicoleSimone.com.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
It
for
was really
having
great
us.
to meet you. Yeah.
These are great questions.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you, Jonas, Lee, San. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Studio Matrix, Wendy Shepherd.
Very good.
Well, we.
Have a wonderful rest of your night, everybody.
You too.
You guys.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Nick.
Bye, buddy.
I love him.
Good boy.
Townhouse.
He's the best. Bye, guys.
Okay.
Love him.
Bye-bye.